What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with AC and Fitty Trent. We are here to discuss the game between the Vancouver Canucks and Montreal Canadiens. Final score 2-1 for the Canadiens in overtime. Now, we do have a slight problem with this recap. We only have one of us that watched the full 60 minutes.
Begrudgingly.
I missed the first period because I was doing the SmackDown review, and Fitty Trent missed the entire game, basically. But he is the Canucks expert, so we needed to bring him on here so I can criticize him for what the team is doing. That's basically why he's on here. I didn't tell him that, but I thought that, we should bring him on.
Hey, after this game, we need to spice it up as much as we can to make, like they said, we'll put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig, but it looks hotter. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, the NHL right now, Adam said it best. Let's just get this over with. Let's get to the playoffs. Let's get to the games that matter. Let's get to the teams that are actually worth watching, right? Not saying that the Canucks, if you're a Canucks fan, they're not worth watching. Maybe you feel the same way, but, they're not worth watching, let's be honest. But we're going to get into the game. We're going to talk about the players. We're talk about the game itself, statistics, and what the outlook for both these teams is going forward. So let's start off with the quick thoughts on the game. Obviously, we will go to Adam because Trent really can't say anything about that. So, Adam, what were your thoughts on the game?
Okay, it was a greasy game with all three goals being greasy goals. Not greasy. Two of them were nice tips, but they were off just bagels to the net, just little muffins to the net, and then just like a tiny deflection where the goalie can't get it. The whole game, it was somewhat back and forth, but back and forth in the way you don't want it to be. It was so a team would skate down the ice, make a couple decent plays, nice breakout, but then a player would just pass to the other team, just stupid mistakes, then back the other way. Oh, Vancouver 2-on-1, bad pass back. Like, it was just so sloppy. It was tough to watch. It was a goaltender's duel in a way. Carey Price only let in one goal, but as we've seen with the Canucks, none of their shots really test Carey Price. There was a couple of them where you have good chances and you shoot it right at him, where that's what the good teams don't do. You got to test them. Miller was great, like we were talking about. Miller almost is a bad signing for the Canucks just because of how well he's played the last 2 years when we're trying to lose, technically trying to lose, or the fans want us to rebuild. But all in all, it's a weird game. Montreal, when we do these recaps, I don't get to see Montreal a lot. I saw them on Saturday play against the Rangers, and they looked really good. So I was excited to watch this game. I don't think it did Montreal justice this game. It was they went down to their lower opponent. For those that are not from Vancouver, sometimes people call it the Roxy Flu. There's a bar in Vancouver that a lot of the players like to go to. I wouldn't surprise me if they went out to the bar because they knew they had the Canucks, and they still won. Like, as bad as they played, they still end up winning against the Canucks. They're going to move on. They're still going to be good. But at the end of the day, tough game to watch. Canucks got a point. It was a very sloppy game.
Are you happy about getting that point?
You know what? Not really. I kind of liked how they get to overtime because as a Canucks fan, it's still, when you get to that point, it would be nice to see them win because dreams do come. Like, dreams happen every day. Miracles happen. You never know. They could, 20 games left. As a Canucks fan, you never know. They won 2 out of 3 in California their last 3 games. You never know if they piece some wins together and maybe go 15-5 the rest of the way, which is doubtful. But there's always a chance. We've seen it before of teams making playoff pushes. At this point, they were only 6 points out. I'm kind of disappointed they lost, but at the end of the day, we know they don't have a good enough team to even make the playoffs. So
if they did make the playoffs, they would get absolutely smashed in the first round, no matter who they face.
Yeah, true. But it's still, I'm always a guy, I like the playoffs. I'm used to it, right? It's like a Pats fan. You're used to it. Like, even if the Canucks are bad, it's the GOAT, right? I've always liked to make the playoffs. Even when they went to Calgary 2 years ago, they had a chance to win that series. It's nice to watch your team in the playoffs regardless, because we've seen teams go on runs before. But I know a lot of Canucks fans don't feel the same way I do.
Okay, so as for me, I don't know what needs to be said. This game was a Canucks game. I mean, over the past couple of years, I haven't been able to watch the Canucks on a consistent basis. I'll just tell you that right now. They're just too boring. I mean, they make, like Adam said, they'll make a couple nice plays, have a nice breakout, bad pass right in front of the net 2-on-1. I mean, Horvat will get around a defenseman. You know, he's basically being held. Yeah, it gets around the defenseman, passes it in front. The other guy can't get to the puck for the wide open net. I mean, it's just the Canucks don't have the skill, which is what I noticed in this game. The Canadiens were missing arguably their two most skilled players on forward-wise. They didn't have Radulov in this game. They didn't have Plekanec in this game. Now, you could argue that they're the two most talented. I would say Radulov is probably the most talented offensive player on their team. But, like, they were missing some skill element to their game as well. Roxy or not, I mean, they didn't look great. Their offense kind of looked, a little shady, and they got dominated for much of the second half of the game when the Canucks were trying to make a comeback, whether that was Canadiens going into shelter mode or the Canucks playing better hockey. That's what it seemed like to me. The beginning of the game was a little fast-paced. I mean, it was fast-paced, but again, no real good chances. Like you said, both goalies I thought played well. Carey Price played like Carey Price. Ryan Miller played like this season Ryan Miller. So it was a pretty predictable score, 2-1. Went into overtime, and I said, it's going to be some ridiculous turnover by the Canucks, or they're just going to try and waste the time. And, of course, that's what happens. They, turn the puck over, and then they free goal basically hit off their own player into the net. So, I mean, it wasn't the greatest game to watch. But I think what we can get from this is the Canadiens mostly. The Canucks aren't going to make the playoffs. But what we can look at is the Canadiens. So let's dive into the statistics, and then we'll dive into our thoughts on the Canadiens, their hopes in the playoffs, their dreams in the playoffs. And then also we'll, talk to Fitty Trent about the state of Vancouver. So first, the game stats, 38 shots on goal for the Canadiens, 28 for the Canucks, 56% field goal, face-offs for the Canadiens, 44 for the Canucks, 0 for 4 collectively on the power play, 18 hits to 15, not many hits in this game, 18 block shots for the Canadiens, 14 for the Canucks. So statistically, it looks like the Canadiens were the better team tonight, but I didn't really get that sense when they were playing. Like, I didn't, obviously they're the better team overall, but I didn't really get that sense while they were playing the game tonight. Tonight, they had Mitchell scored one of the goals, had 1 point in the game, of course. Who else? Galchenyuk got an assist. Byron got the game-winning goal, which Kev was very pissed off about. Shaw got an assist. That was it for the Canadiens. Markov got an assist as well. For the Canucks, Chaput, who is arguably the best name on the Canucks. I mean, the guy literally has poo in his name. That the team is poo.
Got to be good.
He's got to be good. I mean, so that's 1 point for them. Edler had an assist on the point shot. Stetcher had an assist as well. As for the top performers in the game for both teams, I thought for the Canadiens, I mean, I didn't really notice anybody that was extra special. I mean, their defense was solid, of course. Weber was a +2 in this game. He was all over the ice with the block shots, hits, shots on goal. But offensively, I didn't really notice anybody like special that was making a ton of plays. Gallagher had 7 shots. He was his feisty self as usual. For the Canucks, I thought Horvat's line played very well in this game. They were the line that was kind of making the opportunities, especially Horvat. Horvat over the course of the season has been probably the Canucks' best player and the guy that is making the most of the opportunities. I've just been really impressed how Horvat has grown in terms of his handling of the puck. Like, he's really good at handling the puck, like behind the net, in front, in close quarters. I think he does a really good job of that. Sven, along with him, did a good job tonight. I thought they played a good game. Other than that, I mean, Sutter was okay. Stetcher, I thought, played pretty well. He was kind of all over the ice. You noticed him at least, and that's about it. I didn't think anyone else really stuck out other than the goalies, of course. Adam, did you see anyone in this game that really stuck out to you that I didn't already bring up?
Not that you already brought up. Well, I'll just mention Gauntz quickly. For a first-round pick, obviously a late first-round pick. He's 22 years old. He's gotten his chances this year. It just seems, we don't need him to be a third, fourth liner. He was drafted to be a top 6 player, maybe on the plus side, a two-way player, maybe a third liner. And he's just shown he has maybe it's been unlucky, but he's just shown that he doesn't have, I don't know. I don't think he has the NHL skill. He's already 22. It's only his first year in the league, but still, he's had a long leash, and, I don't see them in his, going into this season. I think he was someone in Canucks future plans, but now after kind of his run playing a lot, obviously it's third, fourth line minutes. He just doesn't seem like he's an NHL player for the long haul.
Yeah, I get the same thing from him. It's the similar thing with almost the Virtanen thing, where I just think they're not quite there, is on the level. I think Virtanen will still end up being an NHL player, but as far as he goes, I don't see him being a first line player. I don't see him being that. Gauntz, though, I don't know. He probably won't be on the team next year.
And just to shout out Shea Weber, you could see how much Shea Weber leads that team. He was on for both goals. You know what I mean? Very strong on the puck. He's going to be key for them in the playoffs. I really like PK Subban. I think you lose that offensive edge that PK Subban brings. Obviously, Shea Weber has an amazing shot and can move the puck, but I just think it's more that flash and speed that Subban brings that maybe creates a bit more than Weber. But just defensively, man, he's the best. When that trade happened, a lot of people were pissed, but I was like, Weber is amazing. I don't care how old he is. He's still going to play at a high level for maybe the next 6-7 years.
Yeah, Weber's obviously one of the best defensemen in the league. You kind of expect that week in, week out, day in, day out. And for him, he kind of reminds me of, now he's kind of getting up there in age. He kind of reminds me of Chris Pronger.
Yeah.
When he was kind of getting up there in age. He's kind of like that tough guy, good shot. He's kind of everybody hates him. I mean, kind of Chris Pronger. That's what he reminds me of. So let's go to the state of the Canucks. Fitty Trent.
What's up?
I have a question for you, bro.
Yep.
Okay, so this is something that absolutely baffled me when I watched this game. Canucks have their 2 best scorers in Horvat and Granlund on the freaking penalty kill, bro. What are they doing?
Here's what they're doing, Mitch. They really don't have very many other people else to put on the penalty kill. I mean, Horvat, granted, we drafted Horvat to be a defensive player. He developed into more of an offensive and defensive player. So he's kind of now a two-way forward, kind of caught into that. So I can see why we put Horvat on there. Granlund, don't ask me. He was a sniper. He was drafted as a sniper. We have no one else. We refused to put the Sedins on the penalty kill.
What about Sutter? I mean, the guy was a penalty kill specialist for the Penguins. He can't make the Canucks penalty kill now?
Sutter is Mr. Glass, okay? He got a fluttering puck, grazed off his cheek last year, and he missed the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Dan Hamhuis took a Dan Boyle slap shot right to the face and came back 2 days later ready to play in the NHL, okay? We're not putting Mr. Glass on the penalty kill.
Okay, now I got to get into these bums, all right? Who the hell is Boucher?
Dude, Reed Boucher? Okay. He is a guy that's...
Who is this guy?
He's Gretzky.
Who is this guy?
He is the next Gretzky. No, he's the guy that's been rejected by the Devils and the Predators for the past 3 seasons because they keep on dropping into waivers and he keeps on getting picked up by those 2 teams. And the Canucks said, we want to get into the mix now. We're going to pick this guy up. He's going to be okay.
Okay.
He'll be a bottom 6 guy.
Why is he playing over some of the guys that they have in the minors?
Who? Who do we have in the minors that can...
I don't know. Try some of these young guys out.
We already have the AHL All-Star team known as the Canucks there, Mitch, all right? We might as well give a bottom 6 guy some time in the NHL.
Okay, what's your thoughts on Brendan Gauntz, bro?
My thoughts on Brendan Gauntz, when we first drafted him, I thought, oh, this guy's going to be good. He's going to be at least a second liner, if not first liner. He drastically disappointed me for years and years and years in the preseason when he would do okay and Mike Gillis would go, no, you're on the 4th line AHL team. No, you're going to be a scratch in the AHL. Mike Gillis really hurt his confidence, and now he has nothing. Will he be an NHLer? I think he'll be ending up to be maybe a fourth liner or a depth forward for a team eventually. But no, he's not going to be anything too spectacular for anyone's team. But he's still young. He's only 22.
But you know what I don't get about these millennial hockey players that the Canucks draft? It's like, so what? The GM treats you like crap. Get better. Don't whine and say, you know, like Hodgson. It's like,
yeah, they feel entitled. Just you're already making $1 million and you're not doing shit.
No, but like just play through. Your GM doesn't give you a chance. Just work harder. Like, I just think a lot of it, like that whole Hodgson thing where he was mistreated and then his dad starts whining. His dad starts whining. Like, who's the guy? Gary Roberts starts whining. Like, just shut up and like let them. They're the owners. Where the owners hire these guys to do a job. They're either gonna get fired because they do a bad job, or they're gonna keep their job and they're still gonna be there when you're trying to progress. So your best bet is just to make it not an option. They cannot not play you.
Okay, can I ask you a question, Fitty Trent?
Of course, Mitch. I'm always an open book.
So one of my buddies here is Mike Beck. He's sometimes on the channel, sometimes with the wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jason Megna is literally the worst player ever. And I don't know if I can argue with him. 47 games, points, -4. Why is this guy still playing? He's 27 years old. Why aren't we giving somebody else a chance here? Why is Jason Megna playing right now?
That's an excellent question there, Mitch. I'd like to go back to saying that we are currently an AHL All-Star team. I mean, Jason Megna, don't get me wrong, excellent top 6 player on an AHL team. On an NHL team, he's crap. I won't lie. He's the worst. I'd say he's even worse than Philip Larson. I'll put him up there in that category there, Mitch. That he's worse than Philip Larson.
I don't know. That's almost impossible.
Listen, at least Philip Larson has like 4 points in like 13 games played with the Canucks, all right? At least he has that going for him. Megna, I have no idea why he's on our team. He's always played in the AHL. He was never going to amount to anything. He's still never going to amount to anything. We desperately need to sign some guys in free agency, but we refuse to. We just refuse to.
You know what I think this comes down to too is the Canucks are built to lose, and the Canucks, some of the Canucks players don't get the memo, and our record is way too good than it should be if you look at our team on paper. It's like we're winning games that we just shouldn't. Yeah. That's why Megna, Chaput, those guys are getting big minutes, because I think the ownership wants to lose. The GM wants our team to lose, but the players get on them. They're playing hard, but we should not be 5 points out of a wild card spot with this team. It's just so
the Canucks,
so
even when they win, they screw it up.
Yeah.
I will give you credit, Fitty Trent, for Godolman. He's played pretty well so far.
He's played great. First game, he got a goal. After that, he hasn't scored since. This is the first game he was a minus. He's not been doing bad.
Yeah, he hasn't been doing that bad. I'll actually give you credit for the Godolmanator.
He just doesn't know his teammates' voices, because I'm pretty sure Shaw in the first period called.
He did the old call for the pass.
Yeah, and he gave it right to him. But that's just what can you do?
Ryan Kessler special.
But Ryan does it with the stick tap.
Yeah.
But I'll give him that. He doesn't know his players, but he does look good. He had some chances. The thing going back to that PK, I think Willie just looks at Granlund and like the way he skates, and it's just like, oh, he has to be good on the PK. He can somewhat skate. Like, it has nothing to do with
Granlund's a good offense. He's been good, like really good for the Canucks this year. It's just he's not a penalty killer. I don't get it.
I don't know what Fitty thinks, but I still think Granlund, this is almost his peak. Maybe he can be a bit better.
Yeah, but that's what people were counting him out when they traded for him. So I'm gonna give him credit.
Listen,
I'm on the Granlund train.
Yeah, no, all credit this year. He's had an unbelievable year. Like, no, I didn't even think he would get past 15 goals, right? And now he's looking at maybe finishing with 25 to 30. It's decent. Maybe not that much.
Listen, I was the number one Canuck fan that was pissed off at the Michael Granlund trade when we gave up Hunter Shinkaruk for Michael Granlund. I thought this guy is going to be a bottom 6 guy, maybe someone that we put on like the bottom power play. I'm very glad that Granlund has proved me wrong, and that he has just as much skill as his older brother Michael. He's doing absolutely amazing, and I think that next year the Canucks' first line should be Horvat, Barchi, and Granlund. The Sedins move down to the second, if not even third liners. It's time to move on.
Interesting. GM Fitty Trent has spoken, guys. So let's move on from those crappy Canucks. Let's talk about the Canadiens, all right? So the Canadiens are a team that is first place in their division. It looks like they're going to play the last place team in the Metro, which is still up for grabs. I mean, it's still there. All the teams are doing very well. You have, of course, Washington, who's in first. Looks like they're going to stay there. The Penguins and Columbus are currently tied for second, and they're fighting over that spot. And New York, I'm not even looking at the standings. I just know this because I'm a Penguins fan. And last is New York Rangers. But they are, I think they're tied in points right now because the Rangers won tonight, but they are like 3 games behind.
Exactly. You're exactly right. I have it in front of me. The Rangers are tied with Pittsburgh, but Rangers have 3 games in hand, have played 3 extra games. So like they're tied. So Pittsburgh does have to like win one of those games to even be on the same level or to be.
So it looks like it's going to be New York.
Yeah, Montreal, New York. Right now, Montreal is 6 points ahead of Ottawa, but Montreal has played 3 extra games. So Ottawa has a chance to take over from Montreal. Obviously, they're not freebies. They still got to win all those games. So I still think right now Montreal, with what is that, 18, 17 games left, something like that, it should be an auto that they'll play the Rangers.
So I'm going to ask 2 questions. First, what do you guys think of a potential Rangers-Canadiens series? And second, if you're the Canadiens or the Senators, would you rather play the last team in the Metro or the third place team in the Atlantic?
Who are you asking first?
So pretty much either Boston, or do you want to play Boston or the Rangers?
Yes. Fight over it. Go ahead. Debate. Let's go.
You know what? If I'm Montreal, I think no matter who Montreal plays, and I know they might not have the best offense right now, I still think Carey Price can win you that first series regardless. In a 7-game series, he's going to steal enough games to take it. Going back to their scoring, a sneaky player that I always respect is Pacioretty, because he's 3 goals away from being a 30-goal scorer for 5 of the last 6 seasons. Like, he always puts up at least.
He's a good player.
60.
A lot of people don't give him credit because he's on the Canadiens, and the Canadiens' identity is no star players. Where we all chip in.
But yeah, if I'm them, like New York's probably, I think they'll have a better time with Boston because I think they match up better with Boston. Just because I don't think you want to go against the depth of the New York's defense. They have a decent defense, and they have 4 lines that they roll. If you
actually look at the teams, Adam, they're very similar.
Yeah, 100%.
They have good established goaltending. Even though Lundqvist is a little older, I'd give the edge to Price, but Lundqvist can easily steal some games. Mm-hmm. You have the defense that is pretty similar. I think New York used to be a lot better on the defensive side, but they're still pretty solid. And forward-wise, they all have a bunch of guys that chip in. They don't have any stars necessarily, but they all have a bunch of skilled players that chip in from line 1 to line 2 to line 3.
Like, I can totally see in that series a guy like Shaw or even like Mitchell scoring like 3 or 4 goals in a 7, you know what I mean? Some big goals here and there. And I think the Rangers have similar guys. Like, I'd put Kreider and Stepan and Nash above them, but some of their third guys like Zibanejad and who else? The other guy, Moore. Do they still have Dominic Moore?
I think maybe in depth.
No, but I'm just saying, like, they have 4 lines that they can roll and play quite well.
Yeah, that's my point.
Like you saw today, Byron and Mitchell with the goals to help them win 2-1. Like, it wasn't the big names helping out, right? Like, obviously they had a lot of shots, but I think that's how that series plays out. But at the end of the day, I think Carey Price, it's a guaranteed win against whoever they play in the first round. That Carey Price will shut them down. I think if they go up against Ovechkin or Crosby or a team like that, I think they're going to have a harder time because those guys pick corners, they're snipers, and I think that's how you have to beat Carey Price, with just like perfectly time shots, perfectly placed shots, because like we saw with the Canucks, you're just putting muffins to the net. You're not making a move a lot, and he's just saving everything. And I think that's how that series might play out.
So looking at the team for the Rangers, Miller, Zuccarello, Kreider, Hayes, Stepan, Grabner, Nash, Zibanejad, Vesey, Fast, all these players. Those are their top 3 lines probably.
So I'd almost say on paper, besides, I would say their 3rd and 4th line are better than Montreal's, though, in the New York Rangers. Their bottom 6 is better. I think their top 6 probably match up around the same, but I'll give Rangers the edge with their bottom 6. But at the end of the day, Carey Price is the X factor.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close, man. I said this in the Twitter chat. I said I know that, the Canadiens, they're going to have an off game, but I don't know. It's something about that Metro division, man. It's so good this year, and I don't know. It's going to be really tough for the Canadiens. I think it will probably go at least 6 or 7, and it could go either way. Like, we're going to do our playoff predictions later on, but I don't know who's going to win that round if that's what it comes down to, because those 2 teams are very tough to predict. Usually the Canadiens do at least get out of the first round, but the Rangers are also a team with, equal experience in that. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for sure.
The Rangers also have the wild card in Henrik Lundqvist. I mean, we've seen Lundqvist win you series, and we've also seen Lundqvist lose you series. So
knock the head off in the process.
Exactly. So if Lundqvist is on, it's going to be tough to beat him. But if Lundqvist is off, it's quite easy to beat him, as the Pittsburgh Penguins showed us last year. So we'll see. And Antti Raanta has also been playing really well this season. So maybe it's time for Raanta to take over Lundqvist's job. And Lundqvist, he is getting up there in age now.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough. Any final words on the Canucks Canadiens, or are we going to say goodbye?
Well, just going back to the Canadiens' bottom 6 and players that did well in this game, I just want to mention Steve Ott. I mean, he didn't get a single shot on the net, but he had 3 blocks and 3 hits, and he was not a minus. So, I mean, he didn't do too much, but overall, they've been strengthening out their bottom 6. I still give the edge, over to the Rangers, but the Canadiens, they look good through and through this entire season, and maybe that's what they need to push them over the edge and past not just the first round, but maybe even the second.
All right. Any final words there, AC?
Yeah, just if you PVR'd the game, I wouldn't watch it.
Just delete it. Just delete it now.
Just delete
watch the recap.
Yeah, watch the recap. That's what we say on the Bottom Line View. If you don't like the show, watch the recap.
Exactly.
That's basically our little motto right there. So thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Bottom Line Views recap for the Canadiens and the Canucks on March the 7th, 2017. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, for more hockey content on the Bottom Line View, go check out what video, Trent? You just put one out.
I did. I discussed whether or not Joshua Ho-Sang deserves the number 66, or should it stay with Mario Lemieux forever.
Yes. Okay. And also, tune in to the Puck It Up podcast this weekend as myself, Trent, and maybe some other guests, including Adam, discuss hockey news, hockey topics, and the highlights of the week, all that stuff. So thanks, guys, for tuning in once again. It's Mitch, Adam, Trent. Peace out.